Hello and welcome to Weird Christianity. And that sounded a little bit weird, didn't it?
It just got very loud.
Very, very loud.
Very loud.
I can do it quite a hello and welcome.
And now you just whispering. It's weird.
We introduced a scale system in our household. It's just like 1, a dog can't hear. 10 is my ears are bleeding.
Okay.
Girls, can you speak to a certain level? Like 4.
Okay.
Never works. But hello and welcome to Weird Christianity, where two friends today are sharing 2 facts over one lunchtime. So we are
Becky.
Hello Becky. Hi. And I'm Jeremy with a French accent or the weird accent or whatever. I've got an accent. That's it. It's just like
Every accent.
Just any accent. Any accent comes out of my mouth. Yeah.
Great.
That's it. So with no further ado, I'm really excited about your fact today, Becky, because your fact is...
Yeah, the fish symbol that you often see on the backs of people's car was more linked to the Holy Eucharist than it was to Christian persecution.
So what is the Eucharist?
What's the Eucharist? That's like bread and wine.
Okay.
So that's when you go and have communion, basically.
Yeah, okay.
It's a Eucharist is an old-fashioned word for it. It's part of the word they use in couples, the more like in more traditional churches. So I had always been told as a kid.
So is that because you have fish with your bread and wine?
No, I don't really understand. It's something to do with like the loaves and the fishes and the bread. I don't understand it. There was a link between like the miracle of the loaves and fishes, and apparently that's something you celebrate at communion. Eucharist, I guess that's why it's Eucharist.
I mean, it would just kind of make church a little bit more interesting, you know?
Yeah.
Battered fish with wine.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And instead of the bread, you could have chips. It would be fish and chips and wine.
Communion's a weird one anyway, because in the Bible they were an actual meal. So when we break like weird wafers and drink really non-alcoholic wine in church, which is what we do quite often, actually they were having a full-on meal, like at the last...
Whoa.
It was a full-on meal they were having, and they would have just had it with their, like, meal, basically. So really, honestly, like, you can eat whatever you want.
That's great. But coming back to your fact...
Yeah.
So your fact was not about the Eucharist.
No, it wasn't about Eucharist. I mean, it was sort of. It's about the fish on the back of cars. It's complete. So when I was younger, I was always told the story of how they used to use it in the persecuted church, and how, like, you would... go if you meet somebody on the road, for example, in like early Christianity days, like when the Romans were persecuting the church, you draw like half the lines, and then like if the person was a Christian and they knew about it, they draw the other half of the lines, and then you know that the other person was a Christian. Secret sign, because obviously like a cross would be too obvious, so you can't like.
They didn't have handshake at the time. They were not Freemasons, so just that they had, or Monty Python.
Yeah.
They had fish.
Turns out it's a bit of a myth. When I started digging, turns out it's a bit of a myth. It was more linked to the fact that the Greek word ichthys. So
what does ichthys mean?
Ichthys means fish in Greek.
It just means fish in Greek.
Yeah. And so the early Christians turned it into an acrostic, which means, I'm not going to try and say the Greek words because I will get it wrong, but it basically is Jesus Christ, Son of God, Saviour. And so those are the words they use in Greek, and it turns into a little acrostic. And so they use it as like things in Eucharist and things like that. So actually, like, it was more based on that, and it only started to appear in like the 2nd century. So it was a bit more like later on. It was a really interesting one because I was always told, but it turns out it was myth, and it was probably popularised by a film in the 1950s that people just assumed that it was probably accurate, and then it was kind of taken into like Christian festivals in the 70s, and that's where it started to like be sold as like a thing to put on the back of your car, and you get bumper stickers with it on, and like it's like the sign that you're a Christian, and it's supposed to be like an evangelical thing where you stick it on your car and you're like, that's my sign that I'm a Christian. So it's an interesting one. I personally don't have one on the back of my car. I think it's a bit weird, and clearly it's not what we thought it was.
I have got a lot of Christian friends that didn't want to put it in the back of their car because they were speeding. And they didn't want to...
They didn't want people to know.
They were Christians.
That's true.
I think it's just like, well, put one of them, on the back of your car. So what some other friends did is that they actually stuck a real fish in a bag, which was hilarious at the time.
What, as in like an actual fish? Or like a plastic
an
fish?
actual fish. An actual
Did
fish.
their car not stink?
Oh yeah. I mean, we were young.
Okay.
You know, we just like
Yeah.
we were young, and now probably wouldn't fly. Do you want me to pronounce it in Greek for you?
Yeah, I'm not good at Greek, but you can definitely do it for me.
So it's Jesus Christos Theou Iessos Soter.
Yeah. That I mean, I would not have read it like that at all. I really didn't think I was ever going to get the Greek. I was just reading it going, nope, there's not a chance. Yeah. But that's, yeah, so it's an acrostic, so it goes that like down, and that's the word ichthys. So that's why it gets used. And that's like, and then sometimes you'll see the fish with the word ichthys in Greek written in the middle of it, and sometimes they'll put it in the back of cars, and then also the fish kind of got appropriated by some people that don't like Christianity. Wow.
So yeah, it became with legs.
Yeah, they put it with legs. Yeah.
If you're Darwinian and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like, so one of the big debates is the difference between anagram and
Acrostic.
an acrostic, an acronym.
Yeah.
So let's put it at rest. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
No, it does matter. I think it's just like
I
we
was
have
gonna
so
say,
many,
that's really
so many
unusual.
messages. Yeah, that's really.
Acrostic is the right word though for it, right?
I would have probably called it more of an acronym.
Why though?
Well, So an anagram is of words a word or phrase that is created by rearranging the letter of another word or phrase. While acronym is an abbreviation formed by usually initial letters. So what you have is more of an acronym.
But an acrostic is like a little poem, isn't it, that goes across with the letters of the word?
Yes, I think that's what it is. And I don't think the fish was a poem.
Okay.
So I looked into fish in popular culture.
Yeah.
And I think now I can somehow link there are plenty of fish in the sea.
To the what? To what?
To fish.
To fish. Okay.
I just basically this is my own conclusion, but I realized that in some culture, fish is a meaning of love, or luck, of different things. So I think that I quite like the idea that is probably why there is this expression of there's plenty of fish in the sea.
Nice.
The best expression, crying guy or crying woman just kind of lost their love of their life, and there is someone just like with a beer and a pint on their hands and just sort of saying, oh yeah, plenty of fish in the sea, as if it matters, as if the person that has just lost their friend is going to change their career to become a fisherman.
Okay, yeah, so that was my fact. My fact was the fish symbol that you often see on the back of people's cars was more likely linked to the Holy Eucharist. Jeremy, what is your fact?
Well, my fact today is I want to say that Bart is a theologian and not the yellow kid from Springfield.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Very misleading. Very misleading, because I like misleading facts. So I'm not talking about Bart Simpson. I'm not talking a theologian called Bart Simpson whatsoever. I'm talking about a very important theologian that is hardly spoken of. It's Karl Barth.
Yes, that with an H.
Yeah, but it's still pronounced Bart.
But it's definitely got an H in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
That's
It's
it.
a silent H. It's a silent H.
it's a silent H. That's it. But it's Karl Barth. So Karl Barth, it's an amazing guy. He is a theologian that, relatively contemporary. I mean, he's passed away now, but he's relatively recent. And we can thank him for the idea that the concept, the theology, that God is the one that forgives our sin, and we cannot do anything as human to be forgiven. You just have to come to him.
Yeah.
So he's quite an important guy.
Yeah, I know that's quite a common theology these days. So
Very common theology.
Yeah.
It wasn't at this time.
Yeah.
And he came up with it. And he also just kind of stood up to Hitler.
Wow.
I mean, just like Nazi Germany, he came because Hitler wanted to come with his kind of own type of church that he would tell them what to do and stuff like that. But no, Karl Barth was not having none of it. So he was very vocal.
Yeah.
So very important German. He's just an amazing guy, really. I really like him. I really like his theology. He was not a very good pastor, apparently.
Well, that's a statement.
Even though he was, if you look on the internet, he was like, oh yeah, he was a pastor as well as a scholar. Well, he was more of a scholar than a pastor.
I mean, sometimes we think that scholars would be good pastors and actually just sort of probably pastorally care-wising. Not really, no. Not really good at that.
He's probably that guy who would just go say plenty of fish in the sea.
They're very deep people and they're very clever, but sometimes just relating to people on that level.
that relation, not partly, but apparently is strong suit. But yeah, so Karl Barth, very important guy, but also I did a lot of research about Bart Simpson, and what I found, probably out of all most interesting facts about Bart Simpson, is that you do not like The Simpsons.
I don't like The Simpsons. Sorry. I'm not a fan of The Simpsons.
So she doesn't even know about the Batman music video.
It's true. I feel like it's a statement of like somebody's gonna. I mean, people will judge me for not liking The Simpsons. Right?
Yeah, I am judging you now. Yeah.
Do you know what? We used to watch it when I was a kid, but I think I just don't like. Yeah, find it really boring. I mean, it's a controversial opinion, I know.
The new season, I agree with you, but yeah, Bart Simpson. I mean, there are some very interesting things. What I loved about The Simpsons is the fact that they were 2.5 kids. So in 1989, it was very much the percentage of children in America. So it was just kind of the average number of children per family was 2.5.
It's not that anymore, though, surely?
I don't think it is. It probably is less, I would say. But it's just like 2.5. When the young one is passed through the scanner at the beginning of during the music video, the price tag is 870 more than 875 something, and that was the price of how much a kid of that age would cost a family. So there were all those little interesting facts about the very researched things in The Simpsons, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like definitely I know that some of the things that have happened in The Simpsons predicted the future.
Yeah.
Which is it's a weird little statement about The Simpsons. I don't watch The Simpsons, but I know that stuff that's happened in The Simpsons has come true, like Donald Trump being president.
I know.
That was predicted in The Simpsons.
In The Simpsons. But quite a lot of stuff were predicted by different TV series. I mean, Star Trek came a lot, there's a lot of stuff that came out of Star Trek, especially in technology. But about, The Simpsons, it's just like, or as Bart Simpson would say, "Ay caramba!" No, okay, not okay. What is very interesting about God and the theology in Bart Simpson is that God is the only character in The Simpsons that has 5 fingers.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What does God look like in The Simpsons?
I think he's
Is it an old man?
An old man with a white beard, the normal one, but he has 5 fingers.
Any particular reason for that?
You also don't often see his face.
It is true. That the voice that you heard is the voice of God.
Okay.
No. It's a voice.
Oh yeah,
I'm
voice.
happy to accept that.
Well, it's our producer, which in our world is a little bit like God. He decides what goes in it and what is cut and what is not cut. So we have no decision on that. So he is technically that guy. So you can blame him if you find this part boring, because when we recorded it was not boring.
It's going to take out all of the bit about me not liking The Simpsons.
We will add words. You're just going to say, "I love The Simpsons." Just like it would be this weird word inserted in it, because he's a big fan of The Simpsons, as you can tell, because he knows about God and the fact that he's not shown his face quite a lot. But the interesting thing about that is that Karl Barth was putting back the idea of God at Jesus Christ at being at the center of the Christian faith. And when you have, this idea, when you go into Catholic Church, where you just kind of confess your sin, which again is done and is accepted as a very important thing in Christianity all over the world. However, the second part of, do so many Father prayer or anything like that, and that would just kind of absolve you, that idea, that was what Karl Barth was not very happy with and wanted to move away from. So he was making it priority, and the Bible was very important. He wrote very important books on Romans, and that's what started his idea and his concept of, hang on a second, this has got nothing to do with us. The only reason why we are forgiven is because God's grace.
When I start to talk about theologians, I always go, oh, it's amazing how one person can change lots of people's theology, isn't it? Like, he changed the church theology, like a lot of the Protestant church's theology. So
yeah, I mean, it's just,
amazing.
and we hardly know of him.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like in England, we know the like of C.S. Lewis, we know, but Karl Barth, very important guy.
So I found out that Karl Barth finished his life teaching at Princeton Theological Seminary, and I enjoy that because I did a course at Princeton Theological Seminary.
Name drop.
Yeah, I know, it's fun, isn't it? I'm going, oh yeah. It's nice, and I've got friends on Facebook that are like, one of them's the director of the Theological Seminary.
Wow.
So I get like little points for that, right?
Well, if you're listening to us, say hello. You know, what's her name? It's a her. It's a she, isn't she?
Yes, it is a she. It's Megan DeWald, her name is.
Well,
there you go.
Hello, Megan.
Yeah, if you're listening.
If you're listening, yeah, and you will be, because this will become the most important podcast in your life.
Yeah, she is American, so you know, but she might not hear it.
You know what? If she will either join one of our other sister podcasts, which is all about the Simpson.
Yeah.
And that's of course only you talking about how much you
how
love
much I know about the Simpsons. I can probably get through that in about 20 minutes.
one podcast.
Just one. Something describing me used to watch as a kid, and like some of the stuff that's on the board I don't understand, but yeah, like
cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
Karl Barth was my fact, and my fact in reality was Bart is a theologian and not the yellow guy from Springfield. Thank you very much for listening to our wonderful podcast, and I hope you had a great time. Before we go, we need to say that you can find us on Instagram as Weird Christianity or Weird Nixinity. I still can't pronounce it very well, but it's Weird with Xinity attached to it. On Twitter /X/Twitter and with Christianity on Facebook. And please don't forget to subscribe to our favorite podcast provider. And also, we'd like to once again thank our sponsor, the YMCA Exeter. And if you want to find out more about this wonderful Christian organization, then you can go to our website. It's ymcaexeter.org.uk. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.